Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering the Netflix animated series Carmen Sandiego.
As a revamp reboot of the educational computer game and 90s animated series, the show follows a young Carmen as she goes from working for the criminal organization V.I.L.E. to becoming the legendary globe-trotting heroic thief of today.
Yes. In a way, it's sort of like Sly Cooper, if you played that game, where he's a thief that steals from other thieves, so that's kind of what they're doing here.
So yeah, they really did do it differently from the original, because I do remember Carmen Sandiego in the 90s, and she was in her 30s, and I think you said she was voiced by Rita Moreno, and it was like their answer to Where's Waldo. So I remember it being a PC game, and it was very popular, really huge, and again, Where's Waldo was huge at the same time.
Okay. And I had heard of Carmen Sandiego, but I never played the PC game, nor did I watch the animated series.
I did not have that game by the time you got here. That game, there was no way it would play. It was a 90s game. So
okay.
The computer, it wasn't
no.
Yeah,
I've only played like certain ones. Like I played Spy Fox, I remember that, but like no, I never had that game. And never watched the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego series either.
Well, you couldn't.
Right. Well, I mean, like reruns or something. I mean, like on what do you call it? PBS Kids or something.
They didn't rerun that through the 2000s. They didn't rerun.
Okay. I do know they had a game show too, where you're supposed to like figure out puzzles and stuff to find her.
Yeah, you told me about that. That I didn't know.
Oh, okay. So for this series, it's a little surprising because I really didn't know what to expect. And when we saw the first episode, we were surprised that it took a whole different tone than what we were expecting. Because from we could tell from seeing clips of the original, it was still adventure, but it was, Kitty still. And you had to track her down because she was pretty much the bad guy, and these kids always have to track her down. We worked with the detectives.
And you've got player voiced by Sylvian's Finn Wolfhard.
Right. that was funny, and that was a good shout out to the game where like the player of the game is literally a character, so you can like imagine yourself helping Carmen. So that was actually a really creative role that they made up.
True.
And in here they almost do make it seem like it is a computer game. You do get later on, remember we even had a theory that the show, the world of the show itself was a video game. And we said, well, what's the theory? What if this is all a computer game and it's not real? And then I was like, oh, wait, it is real. Okay.
So it's pretty neat how they've repackaged it and reintroduced it for everyone, not just teens, but also for people like myself who were familiar with it from the original conception. And the first season, we get introduced to Carmen and a little of her backstory. How she ends up with V.I.L.E. We find out a little about it. And we see the relationship between she and player.
Right. And from what I remember when I saw a video, the original story was that Carmen actually ran V.I.L.E. It was still an organization. She ran it, and it was a bunch of different thieves going around stealing priceless objects and selling them to highest bidder, or just for collective purposes and for the thrill of it.
And you were to figure out where she was based on clues, whereas in this version they pretty much just tell you flat out where she's at.
Right. So that's the only part that's not really there. I guess the joke is that the other people have to find her. You know, and the characters know, but for the ones that are looking for her, they don't know. And they keep in the little educational part by having them, when they go to different countries or states, they have a little bit of an informational tidbit, like, the capitals and what's their main food source and what's known for and stuff. So they do keep that in there. It's just not on the same level as the game and stuff, where the entire time you're learning, it's just like little bits, and then there's a story going on.
Right.
And we were kind of surprised how serious they actually took the story. I didn't expect it to be more like a spy series. Even when you watch the intro, the atmosphere is totally different from what you expect. I mean, you're expecting some adventure since they're globetrotting, but this version is kind of pretty serious and spy oriented.
And the color is also very vibrant. The animation is very, very vibrant. Versus, of course, what was done in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And Carmen is also very stylish in here. She has different outfits. She has her hair different ways. And she loves to wear that fedora with her red coat. And everyone knows Carmen Fedora.
You're right.
Carmen Sandiego.
Or Fedora, or my favorite, Fedora the Explorer.
They know that's her. In season 1, it was really, really... stressed upon, that's how they would know who she is.
Right. And like you said, she would have different outfits on, but they always be red. So like, what much coincidence in the world. And then what was funny is they're like, wait a minute, are you the only person in the world that wears red? Apparently in here.
And we forgot to mention she's voiced by Gina Rodriguez.
Right. And those she and Finn Wolfhard are the two biggest stars in here. So the two leads are the two big stars.
And then you've got some other people that are guest stars that are people you may be familiar with from other shows and from doing voiceover work.
Right. And I think you said you knew Don Lewis?
Yes.
Yeah, who plays the chief of A.C.M.E. So, yeah, basically for this show, it shows how she became a thief working for V.I.L.E. and then found out, what they were doing was really messed up and was taking advantage of the world. So she kind of like rebels against them and becomes her own thief, where she's dedicated to taking them down instead of leading them like they actually were planning. As you watch the 2-part origin where she would end up leading V.I.L.E, they kind of like switch it up.
Right.
And the characters are actually very well written and thought out. I can't tell if they are based off of existing ones from the original series or the game, but if they aren't and they're just like originals for this show, I think they actually did a creative job of having each character be one thing specifically for thievery. And they're all from around the world, so you don't have to worry about being like non-diverse, because a lot of different people are in here, plus they travel across the world.
Right. And then for season 2, you got left from season 1 with a great cliffhanger that they pretty much addressed as soon as season 2 began. And it was a different feel to season 2 than season 1, definitely. And it went a different direction with a very, very different cliffhanger for season 2.
Right. And one of the main parts of it that they really harp on to was Carmen's past, because they pretty much addressed that she was found as a baby, and the V.I.L.E people pretty much raised her from the time she was a baby to now, or till she was a teen, to be a thief, and all the techniques and how to be stealthy, assassinate if they have to. So they've been pretty much teaching everything, and she was known as Black Sheep. They didn't have actual names; they all were just code names.
Right.
So then it becomes like knowing what happened to her family or her past, which kind of gets revealed later. And it went a little bit of a different direction than I thought for that too, because I really thought they were going to have like the mom was a world-renowned thief or something, like a shout out to the original Carmen Sandiego, but they didn't. So when you watch it, you'll see it's a little differently, but there still is a chance to bring in her mother now with the events happening at the end of the season. And there are rumors that the original voice actress, what was her name again?
Rita Moreno.
Yes, she's going to be, she would play the mom if, they had her on there, if they even had that type of character on there, she would play her, which actually would be a great idea.
Also in this version, she's got a brother and sister team, Ivy and Zach,
Yes.
who help her in different ways in different places. We forgot to mention them. They're from Boston.
Oh, sure did.
They're from Boston, and they make a big point of your understanding they're from Boston, and they talk about some different facts and things about Boston.
Right.
And they are not as great as being criminals. Or thieves, I should say.
Yeah.
Thieves as she is. So sometimes they mess up. Sometimes they do really well in helping you out. And sometimes they get into these hilarious positions where everything goes wrong, and then a lot of comedy is brought in with them.
Right.
As well. And also their dialect and their banter. They get along. Sometimes they can finish each other's sentences, or they know one knows what the other is thinking.
Right.
But they're a fun addition to the cast for Carmen Sandiego.
And as for the other characters, of course, we have the other people that work for V.I.L.E, whether as the council or as students. And like we said, they have a lot of famous voice actors on here, like Kerry Walgren and Liam O'Brien, just to name two. And it really helps, to create the cast because everyone fit the roles pretty well. And the designs are all very unique, so there's no blending in with anybody else. Although there was one of them, I think it was Coach Brunt, and me and Mama says she actually reminded us of Jasper from Steven Universe. So I don't know if that was intentional or not.
As soon as you see her, you think Jasper.
Right. So yeah, for this show, it's really, really well done. And we know that in the beginning, it doesn't have a lot of traffic right now because a lot of people were hesitant because for the ones that grew up with Carmen Sandiego, they weren't really big on the fact that she was changed from being the criminal that people chased down to the, I guess, anti-hero of the series where you're supposed to follow her story. And they said, why would you make her the good guy? She's the villain. Why are you changing that? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't need a story. Like, why did they go through the trouble of making a story when they should have just kept the game or the story as it was and just new animation?
Well, I was open to seeing what they did with it, and I think they did a great job. Yes, it's different, but it's not bad because it's different. It's just different. And this Carmen Sandiego, you should just take it for the show that it is on Netflix,
right? And
not for the PC game. They're two different animals altogether,
right?
So if you've seen this on Netflix, or if you've even play the PC game or know someone who has played the PC game, let us know in the comments below. What's your take on it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Are you looking forward to a season 3 if there is a season 3?
And be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on new podcasts from us.
Yes, because we will be looking to see if season 3 emerges.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching. I'm Masculine Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you want to do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. Hit her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket, give it to you later on in the form of a locket.